AHI is a small nonprofit organization that actually functions more like a consulting firm.
Un cadre d'analyse qui permet d'étudier l'ensemble du secteur du logement et de proposer des solutions adaptées.
We apply professionalism in order to achieve impact.
Es una institución sin fines de lucros, fundada en Boston, que funciona en más de 30 países.
AHI is creative,
Courageous,
relentless,
Systematic,
and always willing to try new things. A lot of people ask how our mission translates to the real world, and SEWA Grih Rin, or SGR, is a really good example of how this works. AHI first started working with SGR's parent company, SEWA, the Self-Employed Women's Association, in 2010. SEWA was looking to start a housing finance company and needed some help developing the business plan for that.
Official statistics will tell you that there's a need for 18 million homes in India, and most of that need is for the economically weaker sections and low-income groups in India. What it doesn't tell you necessarily is that there's a large chunk of that is for women, particularly poor and formally employed women in India. And for them specifically, housing goes beyond just being a house. It stands for more than just the physical structure. It's about safety for women. It's the difference between having a toilet and not having a toilet. It's for the education of their children. It's also about being able to run a cash-based business out of their home and making money for the family. So informal employment to me can be boiled down to three main things. One, that it's a cash-based business, it's a cash-based employment. Secondly, there's no official documentation, so there is no official record of transactions or access to financial institutions. And lastly, because of the lack of security, there's also potential for exploitation. There's probably no one official statistic to rely on in terms of what is the percentage of informal employment in India. Like I would say something around 80%, and most of that is women.
Once upon a time, Steve Jobs had the idea that you could create a computer that you held in your hand. He did not go to his engineers and say, let's take a desktop and run it through a shrink machine and just make everything a little bitty smaller. To move from the scale to a smaller scale, to move from a fixed installation to a portable installation, required that you go all the way back to first principles and reinvent every aspect of your process around a smaller scale. A bank, in this context, is like a desktop computer. You re-engineer the system around the customer rather than re-engineering it around the pre-existing process. So a big part of what SGR has done is unlearn everything that you would do if you were building a formal bank and rebuild it in a way that is appropriate to the size and scale and tenure and characteristics of the borrower.
AHI worked with SEWA to design a business plan that would be interesting to other investors and would also give informally employed women in India greater access to capital. In 2011, AHI received a grant from the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, which we used to set up an impact investing fund, now called the Arohi Fund. Our first investment from the Arohi Fund went to SGR in 2012, and it served as a catalyst for other investors to engage. With equity from 7 investors, SEWA established SGR and received their license to operate as a housing finance company in India in February of 2015. Later that year, SGR made its first loan to a family in Delhi. SGR helps women improve their living situations with loans for construction, home improvements, and other housing-related needs. 2 years after opening their doors, SGR is in 15 cities across 9 states of India, and they continue to work to help women and their families access more opportunities, reach greater stability, and all of this through housing.
When it comes to describing in a way that is observable the outcomes that SGR delivers, we have people outcomes, which are what happens at the family level. We have platform outcomes, which is what happens at the level of a company or an entity. And we have ecosystem outcomes, which is what happens at the level of public discourse in the country. In people outcomes, better toilets, better children's education, better women's health, better household income, stronger families, upward path. Platform outcomes, from nothing to 15 offices in 9 Indian states. In terms of ecosystem outcomes, it is something that did not exist in the world before. A bank of informal women lending to informal women on informal housing with a credit structure, financial product, and a delivery system which is uniquely tailored to that group of folks. We are trying to revolutionize housing finance in India. It's small, but it's getting bigger.
I've visited a few of SGR's borrowers in Delhi and Jaipur, and there's one particular example that stands out to me from Delhi. It's a family of 6. It's a woman, her son and daughter-in-law, and their 1-year-old daughter, and the woman's 2 other daughters. The family had taken a loan from a money lender to improve their house at an interest rate of 60%, which, needless to say, is very high. After SGR started making loans in this neighborhood, the family took a loan from SGR to refinance the first loan at a rate less than a third of the initial loan. Obviously, that means they have a lot more disposable income that they can put towards, and they do put towards other improvements, most notably towards the education of the 2 daughters of the family. And what struck me most about this family when I visited them was the hope and the excitement that they had to be able to take a second loan from SGR after repaying this first one to add rooms to their house, specifically for the woman's son and his new family.
There are a lot of challenges out there to solve, and we can't tackle all of them. We can't make slums disappear. We can't make urbanization slow down or stop, nor necessarily should we. And we can't eliminate inequality. But what we can and will do is create the positive deviance examples that are the catalysts through which economic and political ecosystems change. To do this, you have to find the biggest problem you can solve and then go out and try and solve it with the communities and the individuals and the organizations that are facing it. Most importantly, you have to do something that creates the potential for others to do more. I not only think that SGR does that, I think that AHI does that. Our greatest satisfaction comes when we provide the impetus that creates an institution or a law or a new entity or financial product that is then picked up and used by others. When our ideas become the world's ideas, when our franchise design becomes open source franchise design, that's large scale. That has enduring impact, and that's why I get up in the morning and come to work every day.